This module is the second of an 8-part series, and it focuses on the design of tree nut facilities.
When facilities are built or modified and utilities and equipment are designed and installed, a high priority is reducing the potential for direct and indirect cross-contamination.
This design should result in the thoughtful storage of food, the efficient movement of materials and people, the feasibility of cleaning and sanitizing equipment, and the long-term durability of equipment to withstand the food and cleaning processes.
At times, facilities aren't always designed and maintained in a way that prevents contamination. And we all know product contamination can be disastrous to the bottom line. Thankfully, there are ways to prevent it. Specifically, you can design your tree nut processing facility in such a way that product contamination is kept at bay. Those design principles decrease the potential for microbiological, chemical, or physical hazards and safeguard the finished product.
Checking to make sure the facility meets sanitary design standards is a simple task. Sanitary principles begin with the construction of the facility. The roof should be designed to prevent the accumulation of standing water and leaks, even in severe storms. Doing so will help ensure safety year-round. Any and all measures should be taken to make sure the process runs smoothly, rain or shine, with minimal risk of contamination from the environment. Simply creating a perimeter with asphalt, gravel, or concrete clear of shrubs and other potential nesting materials is a huge step in the right direction because it serves as a buffer zone that reduces dust and prevents pest harborage. This perimeter is part of an integrated pest management program that should ensure pests are not sources of contamination in your facility.
You may also want to hire an outside pest control company to assist with traps, bait stations, and the application of pesticides. The pest management program should include how-tos on excluding and eliminating pests effectively from your facility. For instance, controlling pest entry, removing pest attractants, storing equipment, addressing interior facility concerns, and other tasks of that nature. These tasks can even be as simple as making sure the building is free of holes, openings, and cracks. If possible, limit the number of windows and vents in the facility. Doing so will help reduce pest entry. However, if you can't easily get rid of windows and vents, make sure they're screened sufficiently to prevent access by pests. Loading docks can be kept from becoming pest harborage areas by keeping them free of standing water and trash or debris. Even more helpful is the installation of air curtains or physical barriers to protect entrances. Another pest prevention method is ultraviolet lights. Using them along with glue boards near entranceways are examples of ways to reduce the number of flying insects and rodents entering the facility. Raw material, in-process, and finished product storage areas as well as employee break rooms must also be maintained in a manner which prevents them from becoming an attractant to pests. Regularly move trash and spills, keep food and supplies off the ground, and monitor these areas for compliance. Written procedures and maps identifying locations of control measures should be kept. The control measures should be routinely inspected and correction logs maintained. Periodic review of these pest monitoring records will assist you with the determination of problem areas in and around your facility.
The list of ways to prevent pests can really go on and on. For now, let's move on to internal facility structure and what can be done to make sure processing goes smoothly. The walls, ceilings, and overhead structures should be cleanable and made of materials that resist deterioration from product or cleaning chemicals. All floors should be smooth, sloped, and well maintained. This way you can avoid standing water. Use a concave joint where the walls and floors meet to prevent dirt and debris from accumulating. This design is easier to clean and maintain too. If present, the floor drains should have accessible traps and drains that are vented to the exterior of the building for ease of maintenance. Wastewater from drains must also be prevented from contaminating the food processing and storage areas. The installation of backflow prevention devices such as one-way valves, double-check valves, and air gaps can help. Unwanted contaminants don't all necessarily come from outside. Sometimes they're produced right in the facility. Moisture can drop onto the food and food contact surfaces. To help keep this from happening, install well-maintained HVAC systems, cold water lines, and nitrogen delivery lines only where appropriate. Catch pans can also be helpful to catch water drips or dust from overhead conveyor systems, as long as they are properly sloped toward the drain line and regularly cleaned and sanitized. We can hardly emphasize enough that keeping facilities and equipment well maintained is critical to prevent product contamination. Tree nut production will result in the distribution of dust around equipment and within the facility. Pay particular attention to overhead fixtures such as lights, HVAC ducts, conveyors, etc., to minimize dust accumulation and to facilitate dry cleaning. Establish a preventative maintenance program that documents facility equipment and maintenance frequencies. You may regularly provide food safety training to food handlers in your organization. However, basic food safety training should also be provided to all maintenance personnel. Policies should be put into place to ensure that only food-grade chemicals are used for food contact surfaces and that the equipment is properly cleaned and sanitized after any maintenance activity. If maintenance is to be performed during production, the work area must be isolated from the active production lines. Once any maintenance activity is completed, always verify that the equipment has been cleaned and sanitized properly before the equipment is released back into production. All repairs should be permanent. As useful as duct tape can be, microorganisms can grow under it and lead to product contamination. Better choices must be made which are more practical and don't compromise food safety. When appropriate, you may develop a written temporary repair program for low-risk areas. This type of program should be evaluated by someone with sufficient experience and expertise in food safety to prevent product contamination. Make sure lubricants used around production areas are food-grade quality. If maintenance tools are used in dry operation areas, they should be cleaned, sanitized, and dried. They should then be placed on designated carts, not on the floor or walkway. Shoe and clothing changes may be required based upon personnel and plant zoning restrictions.
Utilities such as air, water, steam, and compressed air need to be managed to prevent contamination. Make sure pipes and conduits are accessible for cleaning, inspection, and maintenance. Areas with wall-penetrating pipes should be sealed with tight-fitting gaskets. Water used in the facility should meet potable water standards set by the Environmental Protection Agency and local regulatory agencies. Maintain air quality by regularly cleaning and servicing heating and cooling equipment. Also, monitor quality of compressed air and other gases, making sure they are dry and free of foreign particles.
When the new equipment is installed or existing equipment is modified, be sure to evaluate its sanitary design. It should be constructed in such a way that both product and non-product contact surfaces can be adequately cleaned and sanitized. All parts of the equipment should be accessible and easy to disassemble. As a whole, equipment should be free of difficult-to-clean places where product and microorganisms can collect. There are various things you can do to the equipment to make the workflow more efficient. Equipment should be self-draining and piping sloped so that product residue or cleaning materials can be drained. Push buttons, valve handles, switches, and touchscreens should be sloped so workers can't place anything on top of them, and to ensure they are cleanable and do not become harborage sites. Surfaces above food storage areas, conveyor belts, production lines, and any other locations where product is exposed should be free of product dust, flaking paint, or coatings. Care must be given to ensure nothing can fall into the product. Make sure to thoroughly clean and sanitize equipment after installation.
Where you place the equipment is also important. The facility should be laid out in such a way that cross-contamination is reduced. Carefully lay out and segregate the facility into separate manufacturing areas or hygienic zones, using physical barriers if possible. Pay attention to traffic patterns of materials, personnel, vehicles, ingredients, and packaging with a goal to prevent cross-contamination. Always separate the wet from dry areas of the facility, the raw, unprocessed from the processed or ready-to-eat product areas, and basic hygiene from high hygiene areas. Basic GMPs must be implemented everywhere, even non-processing areas and areas of the facility where product or ingredients are exposed. Even offices, restrooms, changing rooms, utility rooms, packaged finished product warehouses, and shipping. This might include raw material receiving and storage areas and areas where pre-processing steps like mixing or blending occur. An even higher level of hygiene must be practiced in areas of the facility where exposed, ready-to-eat product is handled before packaging. These areas are sometimes called the primary salmonella control area. High hygiene areas are often physically separated in different rooms, buildings, and by personnel. So carefully control the product and personnel flow into and out of the high hygiene areas. One simple way to monitor the movement of people into and out of these areas is to provide color-coded clothing that differentiates employees and their assigned tasks. Remember, employees can easily transfer contaminants. Because of that, it can be beneficial to place transitional areas between basic GMP areas and high hygiene areas. Here, employees can put on uniforms or coats, change shoes or don shoe covers, and wash and sanitize their hands before entering their work area.
It's easy to bring contaminants with you into high hygiene zones without even realizing it. Implementing a footwear policy can keep employees from accidentally tracking moisture and contaminants into sensitive zones. Each area of your facility may require different methods for tip-top performance. High hygiene areas should have their own tools and equipment and storage. However, if tools must be shared, clean and sanitize them like usual using validated methods. High hygiene areas should be supplied with high-quality clean air under positive pressure. Even toilet facilities should have certain requirements. For instance, restroom doors should not open directly into the production area. Rather, they should open to a hallway or another place away from the production area. Restrooms must have hand washing stations conveniently placed with running water at a suitable temperature to sufficiently clean hands, not too hot or cold. The design of sanitation fixtures is important too. Large, smooth handles, foot pedals, and automated faucets can prevent freshly washed hands from being recontaminated. Hand washing stations must, of course, be supplied with soap and sanitizers and drying tools. Signs should be clearly posted on doors in English and other languages understood by employees to point out the locations of hand washing stations. The number of waste receptacles you place around your facility should depend on traffic patterns. Waste should be removed frequently and containers should be covered when appropriate. And now for the last item on our agenda, visitor policy. We recommend having a system in place to prevent unauthorized entrance into your facility. Visitors and contractors should be trained on company GMP policies before they are allowed to enter the facility. This way, they can know what to do and what not to do.
There are always methods to better maintain your facility. Design, pest management programs, structure, maintenance activities, utilities, layout, they all play an integral role in the efficiency and success of your facility and in ensuring production of safe products. Even something as simple as sealing holes can make a world of difference. Your ability to produce a safe product is directly impacted by the design and maintenance of your facility. So implement any and all possible measures to keep product contamination at bay.
In this module, we discuss different ways to modify your facility to reduce cross-contamination of tree nuts during processing. In the next two modules, we'll discuss wet and dry methods of cleaning tree nuts. Module 4 discusses wet sanitation options, while Module 3 discusses dry sanitation options.